Exclusive contract novel from Falun Novel Network. Siheyuan. Me, start with a fierce fight against Zhonghai. Wake up from a sleep. Li Ming found himself transported to the world of romantic quadrangles in 1960. And he will be kicked out of the courtyard by Zhonghai at the beginning, so as to occupy the 3 rooms left by his parents. However, at a critical moment, Li Ming awakened and activated the Grandmaster system. As long as you pile up the experience points of an event, you can obtain the title of Grandmaster for that event and receive generous rewards provided by the system. At this very moment, Zhonghai held a general meeting of the entire court. In addition to requesting Li Ming to unconditionally change houses with the Jia family, he even asked Li Ming to make up for the relief funds he had not donated to the Jia family in the past few years. Okay. Grandpa wants me to change rooms, right? No problem. But first, extend your face over. Subsequently, Li Ming slapped Zhonghai in the face, and his 3 front teeth flew backwards for more than 10 meters. I gave you face, didn't I? Falun Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. The opening buff is stacked to the brim, making it easy for beasts to hit the sea. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In the late summer of 1960. Number 95 South Luogu Lane Courtyard, 49 Cities. A young man was lying in bed, exhaling more and inhaling less, looking as if he was about to lose breath. Brother. A severely malnourished little girl with withered and yellow hair, a dark face, and thin clothes knelt in front of the young man, crying into tears. Hee hee. The young man didn't struggle for long and soon lost his breath. Brother. The little girl is very young, only about 6 or 7 years old, but even so, she knows what happened to her brother on the bed. She, covered in scars, became even more saddened by the departure of her loved ones, crying bitterly. Suddenly, the young man on the bed rolled his eyes and his previously heavy eyelids suddenly opened. When he saw the little girl lying on top of him, he instinctively wanted to push her away, but a huge memory suddenly surged into his mind. Hiss! The young man's head pricked, and then he froze. Li Ming. A common social animal. I was originally fishing in the company to pursue dramas, but unexpectedly, I stumbled upon the TV drama I was chasing. That's right, he has traveled through time. Nima. Can we have a better start to this journey? At least he is also the son of good luck, how could he become the son of bad luck with me? Li Ming complained, quickly fusing the memories in his mind. He traveled to the TV drama, full of love in a courtyard, as a family with 2 deceased parents, a foster sister, and a family with nothing to do. Li Ming himself didn't have much success and was a bit foolish. A few years ago, he was fooled by Zhonghai to go to the wilderness for cultivation, and there was no news for 3 years. In addition, Zhonghai, an old rascal, played a prank and made Li Ming's parents mistakenly believe that he had died in the wilderness. He eventually died of depression, leaving only his adopted daughter Li Xiaoxiao behind. That is Li Ming's younger sister. During this period, Zhonghai fell in love with the 3 houses of the Li family in order to get Jia Dongxiu to take care of him. He tried his best to get these 3 houses. Unfortunately, the little girl Li Xiaoxiao firmly believed that her brother was not dead and persisted. In the end, he had no choice but to forcefully drive the little girl out, only to be bumped into by Li Ming, who had returned from the wilderness. Li Ming had a hot temper, and after learning the truth, he immediately got into a fight with Zhonghai, and the result was predictable. With the help of Zhu, the god of war in the courtyard, Li Ming was beaten to half paralyzed by the 2 of them. If it weren't for Lu Xiao's kindness in carrying him home, he would probably have died long ago. Grass. How can we play at the beginning? Just lie flat. However, Li Ming had just finished speaking. A mechanical sound rang out in his mind. Ding, memory fusion completed, the master system begins to bind, this sound is like a heavenly melody. Upon hearing this, Li Ming's face turned red and his ears turned red with excitement. If it weren't for the severe physical damage, he might have already jumped up to celebrate. After more than 10 seconds. Ding, Grandmaster system successfully bound. As the mechanical sound of the system fell, a 3D transparent template appeared in front of Li Ming. Name: Li Ming, occupation: Pioneer, skills. Medical skills, 10,000/0, culinary skills, 10,000/0, martial arts, 10,000/0. Grandmaster system. As long as you pile up the experience points of an event, you can obtain the title of Grandmaster for that event and also receive system rewards. Without waiting for Li Ming to be happy, the next prompt sound came again. Ding, the beginner gift package is in place, please check it yourself by the host, what are you waiting for? Use it. Without any hesitation, Li Ming immediately opened the beginner's gift pack. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining 1 De Huan Dan, 1 Chang Jin Zhuang Gu Dan, 1 Zhan Yen Mei Dan, 1 Ba Ji Quan Grandmaster title, and 1 system storage space. Note: the title of the system reward master cannot be exchanged for rewards. Looking at the rewards in the system backpack, Li Ming forcefully suppressed his joy and shouted directly at the system, use them all. At the next moment, Li Ming felt like he was melting in place. A sense of comfort that is no less than the state of a sage spreads throughout the body. Bang bang. GA bouncing. His bones began to make a crisp sound all over his body, and then he jumped up in one go, his injuries healed all over. Moreover, the overall appearance of the person has directly reached its peak. Countless moves appeared in his mind, and his muscles began to slowly tighten, as if he was born with those martial arts skills. Dong dong dong. Outside the door, there was an impatient knocking. Li Ming, Li Xiaoxiao, the staff meeting will be held in 10 minutes. Remember to come, brother and sister. After speaking, the owner of the voice turned around and left. Little girl Li Xiaoxiao had not yet recovered from her brother's shock of resurrection. She stared blankly at Li Ming standing in front of her unscathed, her mouth opening to the size of a goose egg. Smile, brother, I have been resurrected with full blood. Li Ming sat down and hugged Li Xiaoxiao in his arms, comforting him with a smile. Brother. Brother. Li Xiaoxiao trembled and shouted, then burst into tears. 10 minutes later. Li Ming changed into clean clothes, took Li Xiaoxiao's hand, and arrived at the courtyard. At this moment, the moral deity Zhonghai sat upright in the middle, surrounded by the left and right protectors, the irritable bangs of officials and fans, and the meticulous Yan Bugui. The 3 masters sit in the courtyard, and the remaining are some representative figures in birds full of 4 courtyards. For example, the plump and plump summoning ancestor, Jia Zhang. He Yuzhu, the cook of the dog and war god, is the first liquor in the courtyard. Jia Bongan, a natural thief of the divine body. There is also Qinhuai, the leader of the White Lotus Holy Mother Church and a vampire Taoist. And the most beloved and enviable figure among the audience, Su Damao. Li Ming, you are truly a talented young man who has opened up the wilderness. You have such a good physique, and fighting with silly pillars is not a serious matter. It will be over so soon. Upon seeing Li Ming's arrival, Zhonghai was surprised and couldn't help but change his concept and explain. The main purpose of today's conference is to celebrate the upcoming birth of Jia's daughter-in-law Qinhuai's 3rd child. Due to the small size of the Jia family's house and the difficult living conditions, and considering the loss of both Li Ming's siblings' parents, the 3 houses were truly wasted. Therefore, I have decided to exchange houses between the Li family and the Jia family. At the same time, when Li Ming returns this time, he happens to donate some of the relief funds he has not donated to the Jia family in recent years, which can also be considered as a contribution to our courtyard. After speaking, he looked at Li Ming with a threatening expression in his eyes, and then smiled at Li Xiao beside him, saying, "That's right. Xiao Ming, your younger sister Xiao Xiao is naturally foolish and not suitable for school. The third uncle told me that she can give up the quota for school and use it as a clever meme. You don't have any objections, do you?" Chapter 2. Zhonghai inverts right and tells the truth, Li. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. It's not like that. Even though you are forcing my parents to die, you still want to kick me out, let Bangji find someone to beat me, and not let me go to school. Before Li Xiaoxiao could finish speaking, Jia Zhang twisted her plump buttocks and rushed up to point at Li Xiaoxiao, cursing loudly. You little bastard, what nonsense. Your damn father just couldn't bear it and suffocated himself to death. And you slut, you can't resist loneliness and insist on being someone else's little one, even if you're beaten to death, it's considered light. Don't think that someone will support you when your little brother comes back, it's just a fool's dream. Li Xiaoxiao was frightened and trembled by Jia Zhang's chubby face, and her thin and weak body kept shrinking behind Li Ming. Her already frightened little heart was beating even harder. Listening to Jia Zhang's insults towards her family, she felt both aggrieved and scared in her heart. She could only tremble and retort, "No, it's just you and an old man." Before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Zhonghai on the spot. He sat up straight and looked at Jia Zhang and Li Xiaoxiao who were arguing, with his eyes fixed on Li Ming, who had been silent all along. All right. You two, stop arguing. Xiao Ming's choice to go to the wilderness back then was also his own choice, and we should all respect it. As for the Li family, it can only be said that fate did not fulfill people's wishes. Their lives are short, and they can't blame anyone else. If you're smiling, after all, you're a girl and you'll have to get married in the future. Since you don't have the talent for reading, why don't you work in the morning, exercise your strength, and even subsidize your family in the future? Third Master, are you right? As he spoke, he even smiled and looked at the third Master Yen Bugui beside him. It seemed that the two had already planned. Not bad. Yen Bugui didn't even blink an eye and secretly spread out his hand towards Zhonghai, with 5 fingers in his hand. Zhonghai understood and gave the third master a reassuring look. That's it. Li Ming, don't argue with your sister anymore. From both a moral and courtyard unity perspective, this time it's your siblings right and wrong. Don't blame my subordinates for being ruthless in such a reckless and persistent manner. He Yuzhu walked forward and glared at Li Ming with a threatening expression. In his view, Li Ming was just a defeated subordinate. As the god of war in the courtyard, even Su Damao, who was also young and strong, was not his opponent, let alone Li Ming who was crushed by him. Zhonghai, I think you've lived enough, haven't you? You're really good at kicking your nose and face. I really thought this courtyard house was owned by your family, pretending to be a good old man with hypocrisy. Do you think I don't know what's going on in your heart? Li Ming listened for a long time, but finally couldn't continue listening. He came to Zhonghai and disregarded his ironclad expression, pointing directly at the other person's nose and cursing, "Isn't it that you can't give birth to a son or daughter, and want someone to take care of you for the rest of your life? What do you think this Jia family is good? A rolling knife meat old witch and a fickle poisonous woman, your son is a short-lived ghost and your grandson is a petty thief. If you really share this family, you will never end up well in your lifetime." Still feeling complacent there, anyone with a bit of brain should stay away, afraid of splashing blood on themselves if they die. Are you unable to give birth and suffocating your brain? Dare to bully my sister, are you the old birthday star hanging to seek death? With Li Ming's witty scolding, the entire courtyard fell silent. A few who had far closed the door early, preventing passers-by from watching the excitement. Li Ming. Zhonghai's face was full of iron and blue, with veins bulging on his forehead, as if he was about to explode in the next moment. Shut up. You are an old and unemployed person, you have no right to call my name. Li Ming sternly rebuked and then looked at the crowd. Lang Xing said, I believe everyone knows how Zhonghai became this old man. It's nothing more than relying on my identity as an 8th level fitter and taking the initiative to support the deaf old lady. Speaking of which, Ming changed his tone and said, but has he really taken care of the deaf old lady? Everyone speaks from their hearts. What achievements does that deaf old lady have? Is it absolutely true that she claims to be a strong member? Also, don't forget your surname. Even if you adopt your ancestors, there's no need to be someone else's grandson, right? Zhonghai colluded with the deaf old lady, wielding chicken feathers as an arrow and shouting to control the entire courtyard. Are you willing to serve them as servants? You feel your conscience and ask yourself, has Zhonghai really supported the deaf old lady? And is the deaf old lady worth it for you to confess as ancestors? As soon as these words were spoken, the whole audience fell silent. Everyone lowered their heads deeply and remained silent. They are not stupid, so they naturally know that what Ming said is true. Leaving aside the authenticity of the identity of the deaf old lady, it does not hold true that Zhonghai supports the elderly. Since he promised to support the deaf old lady, she has started to act recklessly, and whoever buys meat will go grab some. If you don't eat, just curse. Whoever buys something good directly goes to ask for it, which is called respecting the elderly and loving the young. Moreover, over the years, the deaf old lady and Zhonghai have been leaning against each other. Anyone who has benefited the deaf old lady is favored. If you have a bad temper with her, you can directly hold a general meeting of the entire hospital to criticize. And you, old witch. Ming had no intention of letting go of Jia Zhang's family. Seeing everyone silent, he directly aimed his spear at Jia Zhang, who was standing on the sidelines and resting. You're so greedy that you'll curse when others don't give you food. You don't have any quality, and when you encounter tough criticism, you'll scream and summon your damn husband. You really have the ability to take me away. See if I can order your house. At an age that is disrespectful and prone to lying on the ground, rolling and pretending to hit porcelain, bullying honest people with ease, won't your conscience hurt? Collaborating with Zhonghai and coming up with devilish ideas to crack down on those who have objections to you, you have become arrogant and reserved. I see you're living up to your age. Before Jia Zhang could retaliate, Ming turned the gun head again and pointed it at Jia Dongxiu, who was furious beside him. Jia Dongxiu, the old gambler in the nest. Ghost, if you're angry and have nowhere to go, you'll mess with your wife. Born to be a short-lived ghost, you still love to show off, sooner or later you'll end up playing with yourself. Widow Qin, don't worry, there's still you. Just scolding Jia Dongxiu, Qinhuai seemed to turn around and hide. How could Ming possibly let her go? A woman with a fickle personality, you have written about being restless and conservative on your face. Sooner or later, you will be the master who wants to serve multiple women. What kind of innocent white lotus flower do you pretend to be? In the future, you can also play tricks on Heyuzhu, who is brainless. Heyuzhu beside him was confused. Heart says how I lay down and got shot. Before he could taste it again, Ming fired a gun at him. Silly pillar, can your brain grow a muscle? I didn't see that Mrs. Qin has a husband and already has 3 children. Don't you think it's dirty? Widow Qin can easily make a fuss of you, even if you take advantage of it, you can still show your heart. Don't you think you've never seen a woman before? I rely on my ability to fight and bully people all day. One day, when I encounter a tough problem, I will cut off your 3rd leg and feed it to the dog. After Ming finished cursing, the whole courtyard fell silent. Zhonghai's face was red and his eyes were extremely gloomy. Heyuzhu was even more furious when he was scolded. He rolled up his sleeves and waved his hand on the spot, saying, "Son thief, you're looking for death." Chapter 3. Tai Chi begins to show its might. Ming picks 5 out of 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ming felt both surprised and delighted when he saw the situation. The reason why he scolded everyone all over was to stimulate Heyuzhu and others to take the lead. Be careful, brother. Li Xiaoxiao saw Heyuzhu and others teaming up to attack her brother, and her face turned pale in panic. She quickly protected her brother. Smile and be good, hide behind your brother. Li Ming blocked Li Xiaoxiao behind him, stomped on his feet, and after placing his lower body in a straight start posture, he unleashed his master-level Tai Chi. Heyuzhu threw a punch at Li Ming's nose, and Li Ming instinctively squinted with the strong force of his fist. However, before he could succeed, Li Ming dodged on one side and grabbed Heyuzhu's right arm with his backhand, lifting his leg and fiercely thrusting it towards the opponent's crotch. Ah! Sharp screams echoed over the courtyard, frightening all the men present to tighten their legs, shrink their necks, and one by one feel extremely scared. Ah ah ah, little beast, for the old lady. Before Jia Zhang could even charge over, she was slapped and thrown away by Li Ming. 5 bright red fingerprints appeared on her face along with her palms. The fat old witch fell to the ground with a loud roar, causing dust to fly on the ground. Li Ming, who was not relieved of his anger, moved Zhonghai's attack away with one move of 4 or 2,000 pounds, and fiercely hit Jia Dongxiu, causing him to widen his eyes and regret deeply. Ah! Jia Dongxiu couldn't finish his screams, but he saw Li Ming slapping Qinhuai's face again. The slap made her dizzy and drool splashed on Heyuzhu's mouth. Qi Lu, Heyuzhu instinctively closed his mouth, and then his eyes lit up, as if he had tasted the delicacies of the world. Wow, Lao Jia, come back and take a look. Someone is bullying our orphan and widowed mother. If you have a spirit in heaven, come back quickly and take him away. I won't live anymore. The little bastard of the Li family bullies people, and the orphan and widowed mother are bullied without anyone helping them. After falling to the ground, Jia Zhang realized that he and others were not opponents of Li Ming, and immediately began the soul summoning technique. The crying was so terrifying that the faces of the residents present changed greatly. Li Ming, stop it. Don't fight anymore. If you fight again, you'll end up losing your life. That's right, didn't you see how badly Jia Zhang cried? It's really unlucky to bring in Lao Jia. Although this era opposes feudal superstition, some of the dross of the old society has not been completely eliminated. Faced with Jia Zhang's methodical soul summoning technique, the beasts were still somewhat intimidated. Therefore, one by one, they spoke up to remind Li Ming not to get moldy, mainly because they were also a bit afraid. Brother. At this moment, Li Xiaoxiao also pulled at Li Ming's hem from behind, her pale face full of worry. Reverse, reverse. Zhonghai stood firm and did not approach Li Ming again. He had already understood the gap between the two sides. Although I don't know why Li Ming suddenly became so powerful, it doesn't affect his ability to sanction him. Lao Yan, report to the police immediately. This kid is crazy, he dares to commit violence in public. He's really lawless. We must let the police comrades take him away and discipline him well. Jia Zhang felt confident when she saw Zhonghai coming forward. That's right. Do you think you can do whatever you want after practicing some kung fu? Believe it or not, I asked you to lose all your money and sell your sister to pay off the debt without any money. How dare you be so arrogant? The third master Yan Bugue was quick-witted and was about to go out and report to the police, but was stopped by Li Ming, who flashed. Li Ming, you. Li Ming gave a sinister smile and kicked a graphite plate to block the door. He reached out and grabbed the third master's wrist, his gaze full of threats as he looked at everyone. Today, no one can leave this courtyard until the matter is resolved. Bastard. Li Ming, do you want to restrict our personal freedom? After all, the third master is a teacher who understands the law and knows that some behaviors are illegal. However, how could Li Ming be scared by his words? Firstly, this old witch is constantly summoning souls, it's a feudal superstition. You even help her speak. If we catch her and eat peanuts, we won't be able to escape. Secondly, Zhonghai organized a group of people to carry out social riots, which is suspected of being reactionary. The street parades and demonstrations are small, and in severe cases, they should be directly taken out to take gunpowder. Also, Yuzhu took the lead in taking action. This is just legitimate defense. When it comes to it, they are all accomplices. Are you sure you want to help these criminals speak up? These big hats were fastened one by one, causing a group of beasts to retreat one after another. Those who were originally standing next to Zhonghai and others all retreated, fearing that they might be implicated in any crime and would be in danger. Zhonghai has been talking big in recent years, speaking with great righteousness and not doing anything behind his back. Many animals have long had objections to him. Therefore, it is impossible for anyone to stand on his side in times of adversity. What a sin! What a sin! Little animals bully people, little animals bully people. Jia Zhang wailed and wept, and everyone who listened avoided her like a plague. There was no place to vent her emotions, so she turned her gaze to Qinhuai, who was trembling beside her, ignoring that she was pregnant and had just received a slap. I know how to eat useless things all day long. Our Lao Jia family has married you, the bereaved star. You've been unlucky for 8 lifetimes. I don't know how your mother educates you, even if I don't know how to go to work every day and have to exhaust myself from serving 2 children. Speaking of impatience, Jia Zhang raised her palm and even wanted to slap Qinhuai Tathagata again, so that the palm prints on her face would be symmetrical. Qinhuai felt aggrieved in his heart, blinking his watery big eyes pitifully. He realized that Jia Zhang had not softened his heart, so he quickly dodged on his side, afraid of losing his composure. On the side, Li Xiaoxiao couldn't help but stretch her eyebrows and smile at the sight of Jia Zhang and others who usually bully her. Bitch girl, why are you laughing? A mother gives birth to a bastard without a father's teachings, I'll strangle you. Perhaps she had cursed her head, but Jia Zhang glanced at Li Xiaoxiao hiding aside and chuckling. She suddenly became furious and rushed forward to pinch Li Xiaoxiao as usual. Li Ming's eyes turned cold as he reached out to grab Jia Zhang's wrist and then twisted it hard. Old witch, did I give you face? Ah! Jia Zhangshire was writhing and couldn't help but scream again, causing everyone's scalp to tingle. Stop it. Li Ming, please stop it for me. Pillar, alarm, alarm immediately. Today, I must catch this lawless maniac and let him in to eat peanuts. Watching Jia Zhang suffer from excruciating pain, Zhonghai felt as if he was being grabbed by someone. But he knew he was not a match for Li Ming, so he could only give orders to Yuzhu, who was watching the show on the side. Catch me. What kind of thing are you? If you say, catch me, then catch me. Are you the Earth Emperor or the true Dragon Emperor? What era are you, and even the vulgar words about the restoration of this imperial dynasty? With just one sentence from you, I can let you eat peanuts for a lifetime. Upon hearing this, Zhonghai glanced at the trembling third grandpa beside him and immediately wilted. Chapter 4. Kneeling of 2 Livestock. I'm not sure if I'll kowtow. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The whole courtyard is silent. The needle falls and can be heard. As soon as Li Ming's restorative words were spoken, everyone covers their mouths. Afraid of saying something wrong. Grasping the handle by Li Ming. After all, at this time, the term restoration may not be particularly sensitive. But if someone sincerely wants to tell you, still unable to avoid imprisonment. Zhonghai's face was ugly and his expression changed back and forth. Out of the corner of his eye, he glanced at everyone present. Finally, it fell on Yuzhu's body. Although silly Zhu loves to take action, he is not foolish. I know I can't get any advantage from Li Ming today. She simply shook her head towards Zhonghai. See the foolish pillar's action. Zhonghai also became completely honest. The small grievances in my heart slowly dissipate. Xiao Ming. Today's matter, it's Mr. Yi's fault. I didn't fully consider your young people's temperaments. Speaking is a bit inappropriate, don't take it to heart either. Grandpa is also considerate of our neighbors in the courtyard. Who hasn't encountered any difficulties yet? We can't just turn a blind eye to death, can we? Zhonghai stretched his smiling face and approached Li Ming, earnestly shifting the topic. Everyone has something wrong with today's matter. What if you say your idea, as long as it's not too extreme, the master will agree to you. Yes, Xiao Ming. You are a righteous and upright person. Apologizing to you today is enough to prove that he has you in his heart. He has a big belly in his bangs. Walked up to Li Ming and said with a smile. Xiao Ming, it's not that third master said you. Sometimes it's good for young people to have skills, but we can't rely on talent and arrogance, can we? The neighbors in the courtyard are all old acquaintances, no worse than distant relatives. When it's time to spare someone, just spare them. With a small heart, you can't do big things. Yan Bugue sees an improvement in the situation. Especially Zhonghai chose to apologize voluntarily. Hurry out to round off the situation and break free. But this old boy relied on himself to spend a few years studying. Being able to chew words at any moment can be annoying to listen to. So, what about her? Li Ming did not make a direct statement, but turned his gaze to Jia Zhang's side. Miss Jia, come and apologize to Xiao Ming. Zhonghai saw that Li Ming did not delve deeper. I couldn't help but be overjoyed. Looking at Jia Zhang's anxious reminder. What? Lao Yi, I see you're a fool. Upon hearing these words, Jia Zhang immediately stopped working. Isn't this kid just capable of fighting? If he can fight again, with so many of us, are we still afraid of him alone? Besides, you are an old man recognized by the streets and courtyards. He's just a little kid, can he still provoke public anger? If you ask me, he's just getting used to it by you guys. Seeing Jia Zhang continue to speak endlessly, Zhonghai couldn't help but rush forward. Pop! Shut up! Either apologize or get beaten up, don't implicate me. A slap made Jia Zhang feel dizzy and dizzy. Zhonghai scolded her without any mercy. Oh my! Not alive! Not alive! Old Jia! Someone has bullied us orphans and widows. Come back and take a look. If you have a spirit in heaven, come back and take it away for him. Not waiting for Jia Zhang to finish speaking, Zhonghai reached out and lifted her up. Then he crouched in his ear and muttered softly. Li Ming is not in a hurry either. Just hold Li Xiao and stand in place to watch the good play. What he wants to do. It's not just about teaching these people a lesson, so don't worry. About a minute later, Jia Zhang's face no longer had anger. Instead, it turned into a strong desire to please. She followed Zhonghai to Li Ming, nodding and bowing to him incessantly. Xiao Ming, ah. It was Auntie's fault just now. Auntie, I apologize to you. Don't take it to heart. However, Li Ming remained unmoved. Zhonghai is in a hurry. Take a glance at Jia Zhang. Looking at Li Ming with a slightly pale face, he gritted his teeth and asked. Xiao Ming, how can you forgive us? Li Xiao also looked up at her brother at this moment. Although my brother has become a bit unfamiliar now, she really likes it. Su Damao, He Yuzhu, and others on the side were closely watching Li Ming, afraid of missing any important words. If you want me to forgive you, you can. Li Ming lifted his head with a faint smile. Looking at Zhonghai and his two companions with a peaceful expression in front of them. He doesn't know the other party just surrendered to his force. Otherwise, there would have been a fierce counterattack long ago. You said, as long as we can do it, we will never hesitate. Zhonghai completely loses face. Hearing Li Ming's words is like receiving amnesty. Kneel down to my sister, Kowtow, and apologize. Li Ming's language is astonishing. All the people present who heard this sentence changed their faces greatly. Even Li Xiaoxiao looked at her brother incredulously. Brother. Be good. Li Ming didn't pay any attention to his sister's surprise. Impossible. Zhonghai was the first to refute, with a face full of humiliation. That's it. Let's kowtow and apologize to this little bastard, it's just wishful thinking. However, she hasn't finished speaking yet. A huge palm came towards me. Just listen to a pop sound. Jia Zhang's fat pig-like figure flew out upside down. Heavy impact on the ground. Mom. Jia Dongxiu couldn't help but rush forward. But he was knocked off by his own mother, and both of them landed at the same time. Qinhuai couldn't help but cover his mouth and smirk. But in the end, I still ran forward to check on my mother.in.law's injuries. And you? Li Ming has no unnecessary nonsense. Fan Fei, Jia Zhang, turned his gaze to Zhonghai and asked calmly. Puff. However, Zhonghai's reaction exceeded everyone's expectations. I saw no hesitation in him. When he knelt down to Li Xiaoxiao. Smile, I'm sorry. Grandpa is wrong, I'll kowtow and apologize to you. He Yuzhu and Su Damao are both foolish. They never expected it. A man who will be strong in his life is so decisive. Ah. This. Brother, Li Xiaoxiao was stunned by Zhonghai's performance. She doesn't know what to do. Turn your head and look at Li Ming beside you. Don't worry, there's still one that's not in place. Glancing at Jia Zhang not far away. The meaning in Li Ming's words is self-evident. Jia family girl, come over quickly. After seeing Li Ming's meaning, Zhonghai took the initiative to greet Jia Zhang. Jia Zhang, who had slowly regained consciousness from dizziness and bloating, could also be considered to have understood. I want to be kind today. I can only compromise with Li Ming. I didn't see Zhonghai kneeling. I don't have much to persist with myself. Puff. Jia Zhang approached Li Xiaoxiao, kneeling down towards her. Then he knocked a few heads with a thud. Xiao Ming, can you forgive us now? Zhonghai helped Jia Zhang stand up and asked Li Ming. Regarding their performance. Li Ming didn't express much. He tilted his head and glanced at them calmly. Then he came to Su Damao. Taking out 10 yuan from his pocket, he instructed him. Go, call the police. Zhonghai. Jia Zhang said, little bastard, you dare to play with me. He Yuzhu. Stop. Don't leave. At this moment, Zhonghai is going crazy. Li Ming, what exactly do you want to do, you little bastard? Chapter 5. The crime cannot be punished. Li Ming was furious and picked one by one. You are listening at novelfull.audio. We have already apologized. What else do you want? Refusing to keep one's word without keeping it. Are you going to lose face in our courtyard? Do you know? Why has our courtyard been rated as an excellent courtyard for so many years? That is the reputation accumulated by the neighbors, brothers and sisters. As rampant as you are, you can hit whoever makes you unhappy. After the fight, if you still don't feel relieved, ask someone to apologize to you. After apologizing and reporting to the police to arrest someone who dares to live in the same courtyard as you. Zhonghai's sudden output directly fooled the beasts. The eyes that looked at Li Ming one by one became particularly angry. Li Ming, you bully the weak and don't listen to advice. Ignorant and arrogant, if I don't take you down today, the courtyard will never be peaceful in the future. Upon hearing this, He Yuzhu immediately became interested. After all, he used to be the god of war in the courtyard. A presence that dares to draw a gun when encountering anyone. Since Li Ming was born, it seems like he has been losing face one after another. How could he let go of the opportunity he had played so well now? Not bad, Grandpa is right. Li Ming, you are selfish and rebellious. Today, even if it's an old man who has a kind heart and spared you, I won't let you go either. Say it. The old and young men behind him rushed to suppress Li Ming on the spot. Don't be impulsive. Don't be impulsive. The second and third masters were shouting loudly behind the crowd. But there is no intention of shifting the heel. Even the two have prepared to sit on the mountain and watch the tiger fight. Anyway, it has nothing to do with them, just watch the play. Whether Li Ming wins or He Yuzhu wins. For them, they all lack a strong opponent. It's just a bunch of trash. Everyone is already not far away. In addition, He Yuzhu chose to launch a sudden attack. The already small distance between the two is rapidly pulling in. On Li Ming's side, there was no panic at all. Don't even glance at the animals. Push Li Xiaoxiao away. Grab the stone grinding plate on the side and then exert a slight force on both arms. Drink. The next moment, all the animals in the courtyard were stunned. I saw Li Ming grinding a piece of stone weighing hundreds of pounds on a plate. He forcefully lifted it above his head. Then in front of the stunned Qin beasts. Hold it with one hand, then punch it in the center of the grinding stone. The stone grinding disc seems to have suffered some violent impact. Directly flew out by the shock and hit the ground heavily. He Yuzhu was the first to stop. My shoes almost had their soles worn off. A sudden break blocked in front of everyone. Almost didn't let the animals behind collide. However, none of these are important. He Yuzhu is already looking foolish at this moment. Especially watching as one punch smashed hundreds of pounds of stone grinding discs into the air. And without any damage. Even pinched Li Ming's fist to stretch out. A strong fear arose in my heart. What great strength. I'm afraid even if we all go up, this skill won't be enough for Li Ming to fight, right? Hey, you overestimate yourself too much. Don't say it's big enough. Can we still live and burn high incense from this kid's hands when we come home? Don't argue, let's see what silly Zhu said. After all, this incident has nothing to do with us. Speaking of silly pillars. At this moment, being stared at by Li Ming with a smile on his face. His forehead was already covered with fine beads of sweat. I have started to feel a sense of retreat in my heart. Li Ming, you're crazy. Zhonghai's voice began to become sharp. The look in Li Ming's eyes was full of fear. Especially when the corner of his eye glanced at the stone grinding disc that had been thrown away by Li Ming's punch. He swallowed his saliva hard. Li Ming, please calm down first. Anything is easy to discuss. Everyone is neighbors, there's no need to make things too ugly. After all, if you look down, you won't see if you look up. Silly Zhu has a hot temper and doesn't really want to fight you. Everyone is just joking with you, let's sit down and discuss what we need. Zhonghai has softened. Especially after seeing Li Ming's terrifying combat power. I dare not provoke Li Ming anymore. I'm afraid the other party will punch me with that millstone. As for Jia Zhang and others, I dare not even fart. Stand aside and be submissive. As if trying to lower one's sense of existence to the dust. Xiao Ming, you also know. You went to the wilderness early, and your parents often miss you at home. Later on, she even let go and left. Isn't your sister all taken care of by everyone? The neighbors are not bad people, they can't bear to laugh and suffer. Although not treated like a biological daughter. But at least when you come back, Xiao Xiao didn't starve to death or freeze to death, right? He Yuzhu and others wiped their foreheads with cold sweat. Standing on the side, watching Zhonghai's eloquent words flicker. I couldn't help but give him a thumbs up in my heart. Say it again. Although your house belongs to your parents, you are not unaware of how difficult the Jia family is. Qinhuai is like having a third child in her belly. They only have a small house, and they can't live these days at all. You have an empty house that you can't live in. What is there to help them with their orphans and widows? I believe even if your parents were alive, they would agree to do so. After all, we are close neighbors. When your parents gave birth to you back then, the big guy helped us a lot. To be honest, you are still the one we watched grow up with. Zhonghai's words are clear and straightforward. Ming was a bit confused when he heard it. Even the second and third masters behind him couldn't help but roll their eyes. However, there is still some admiration in my heart for Zhonghai's ability to reverse right from wrong. As for Jia Zhang's family, I have long been looking at Zhonghai's graceful and majestic figure with a shovel of spring water. No. However, before Ming could speak, Li Xiaoxiao jumped out directly. Zhonghai's eyebrows twitched as he was about to say something. Unexpectedly, Li Xiaoxiao didn't give him any chance at all. My parents have never received their kindness at all. They even went home to threaten their parents back then. If they don't give up the house, my brother will never come back. And this old man once privately told Grandma Jia. We need to change them to a bigger house and drive our parents out. Also, they took all the money from home. That's all the money my parents saved for my brother's wedding. And there's more. They didn't even take care of Xiaoxiao. Aunt Qin doesn't allow Xiaoxiao to eat. I can only eat one moldy steamed bun every day, and I also get hit by sticks and won't be allowed to go to school. Bang! Li Xiao didn't finish his joke. I felt a whirlwind flash by my side. Subsequently, everyone's screams echoed in the audience. Stop it. Police. Say it again. Police, stop it all. A uniformed police officer pushed open the door. Just as I looked up, I saw this chaotic scene. Suddenly startled. Then he quickly shouted towards everyone. Chapter 6. Revealing in face. Zhonghai is unpopular. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Stop it. If you don't stop, I'll shoot. After arriving at the scene, Officer Li rushed directly into the crowd. What shocked him was a young man who looked very young actually suppressed several strong men while fighting. Among them, there is the renowned 95th courtyard war god Heyuzhu, and the soul-summoning ancestor, Jia Zhang, and the Tao Te Tian Zun Zhonghai. Of course. Among them, Qinhuai's face also had a few bright red and mixed palm prints. I think I accidentally bumped into someone else's hand during the melee. Bang! Another kick kicked off Zhonghai's chin. Ming couldn't help but clap his hands and step back to the side. Killed. Killed. Police officer, please take care of it. The little rabbit from the Li family killed someone. Relying on my years of practice, I can do whatever I want in the courtyard. Take a look at what it looks like for us elderly, children, and pregnant women. Officer Li scanned the entire scene. Especially Zhonghai, whose face was covered in blood, and Jia Zhang, whose head was covered in nosebleeds. I couldn't help but feel a wave of slander in my heart. The person who started this is really ruthless. Clearly possessing the ability to subdue these people. Unfortunately, they were completely unrecognizable and had no injuries on their bodies. Isn't it clear that we need to vent our anger and hit people in the face? Why did you hit someone? Officer Li looked at Ming, who was unharmed. I became even more curious about this young man in my heart. However, without waiting for Ming to speak, Jia Zhang was the first to splash dirty water. Police comrades. You can't believe his side of the story. Take a look at what it looks like to me. I have old arms and legs. If there were any good or bad, wouldn't it be impossible to survive? And my daughter. Law. She is still pregnant with the only child from my old Jia family. If it's broken, why can't we pay 100 yuan for medical expenses? And those 3 houses in his family, you have to compensate me for anything you say. Officer Li looked solemn upon hearing this. Look in the direction of Jia Zhang's fingers. I found that Qinhuai's stomach was really slightly bulging. He couldn't help but disbelief. So he immediately turned around. Looking at Li Ming with a calm face beside him. Is what she said true? Asked sternly. Li Ming just wanted to speak up and explain. Zhonghai beside him was afraid that Li Ming would reveal the truth. A swift step rushed forward and stopped in front of Officer Li. Comrade police officer, what Jia's sister. Law said is absolutely true. You don't know. This little rabbit lacks any sense of unity. The Jia family's daughter. Law is about to give birth, and the family of 5 is squeezed together in one room. As an old man in the courtyard, I kindly convened a general meeting of all staff and would like to discuss it with him. Temporarily give up his 3 useless houses to Jia for living. And also promise to give him money. I didn't expect this kid to be unreasonable and start hitting people when he comes up. Take a look at what you called us. If you had been a little late just now, I'm afraid we would have gone to see the king of hell now. Zhonghai spoke vividly. Talking about the injuries of everyone. He also extended his finger and pointed to the scars on his face from being beaten. And Jia Zhang's bleeding nose. Officer Li originally had some trust in Jia Zhang's words. As soon as Zhonghai spoke, he felt a feeling of being the first to report a wrongdoer. So he began to think calmly. Since Li Ming is so powerful, why did you only take action now? If Zhonghai really has grievances, why don't we just call the police directly and make a scene like this? And he remembered the most important thing. That's the person who called the police. It seems that Li Ming went to find them. All of this. All indicate that things are not as simple as what Zhonghai said. Police comrades. Li Ming maliciously committed violence, beating innocent civilians. Hurry up and grab him and send him in. Never let him harm the world again. The words fell. What else does Zhonghai want to say? But was interrupted by Officer Li. He approached Li Ming. Intuition tells him. This young man is not simple. Especially this calm and composed attitude is not something that ordinary people can have. Li Ming, right. Do you have anything you want to explain? Officer Li looked into Li Ming's eyes and asked. Firstly, Zhonghai uses his power for personal gain. Relying on being an old man in the courtyard, I will take advantage of the situation where I am farming outside and my parents are both dead. Convene a staff meeting and forcibly force my sister to hand over 3 rooms. And even after I returned, I still united with everyone to put pressure on me. Forcing me to hand over the house is a robbery. Secondly, this old lady insults me and my sister. Abuse my sister while I'm not around and instruct my grandson to hit her. Stealing my family's money and forcing my sister to voluntarily give up the opportunity to attend school for her grandson. Moreover, this old lady promotes feudal superstition. Constantly summoning souls in the courtyard with everyone. Calling out her long-dead husband is terrifying. Excuse me, police officer. Shouldn't people who forcibly take other people's parents' belongings and promote feudal superstition be punished? Little beast. Jia Zhang still needs to speak up. But he was glared back by Li Ming's gaze. Then he looked at Officer Li next to him again and asked, and you need to understand one thing. Li Ming looked at Officer Li with a burning gaze. I never took the initiative today, I was forced to defend. If you don't believe it, you can casually ask the neighbors present. As long as you pull them aside and ask in a deserted place. I can definitely ask for a reason. Li Ming, don't talk nonsense. The matter is not at all. However, this time Officer Li finally came to his senses. He looked towards the intense struggle. Zhonghai, who argued logically, had a hint of cunning flashing in his eyes. If the other person really doesn't have a ghost in their heart, I wouldn't be as excited as I am now. And he felt something was wrong from the beginning. After listening to the three people's explanations, I finally understood. Whether it's Zhonghai or Jia Zhang. In fact, the title of Li Ming is also good. Whether it's his description or not, it's all very one-sided. And completely from one's own perspective. It is not fair and objective at all. Okay. Officer Li interrupted Zhonghai. Explain to the police officers following behind you. Pulling a middle-aged man towards a corner of the courtyard. Zhonghai looked at the back of Officer Li with fear in his eyes. I felt a surge of fear in my heart. This time, Jia Zhang also realized that the situation was not right. A pair of eyes stared fixedly at Zhonghai. Anything he can't solve. I will definitely betray him as soon as possible. Officer Li is very efficient in handling affairs. Before making everyone wait for long, they asked the residents of 3 or 5 courtyards. But the result made him furious. Because all the answers are exactly the same as what Li Ming said. Actually, this is also quite normal. After all, Zhonghai is unpopular in the courtyard. Everyone actually had objections to him a long time ago. I dare not stop speaking due to his lewd influence. Take it all away. After Officer Li returned, he waved his hand directly. Chapter 7. The soul summoning technique failed. Qinhuai is like a beautiful woman. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Several police officers who followed Officer Li heard this. Immediately disperse. Arrested towards Zhonghai, Jia Zhangshi, and others. Zhonghai really saw Officer Li coming. I was so scared that my legs were weak. Police officer, I was wrong. Don't catch me, I really know I was wrong. I really didn't think about taking and snatching. It's really just for the sake of the Jia family. You believe me, you must believe me. Jia Zhang on the other side. Get lost. Let go of my mother. Why are you arresting me? Jia Zhang appeared particularly irritable when the police couldn't catch him. After struggling to break free from the embrace of the police. Just fall on the ground and roll back and forth. It's like killing a New Year pig. Like Nian Zhu's fierce resistance. We are enforcing the law impartially, and we hope you can cooperate. If we can't cooperate, we have the right to enforce it. Officer Li is an old police officer after all. For people like Jia Zhang who are unresponsive and uncooperative, there are ways to solve her. Jia Zhang, who was lying on the ground rolling, heard this. Suddenly, anger erupted. Understand that Officer Li is not that kind of novice. Immediately began to cry and hurt. It hurts me so much. It hurts me so much. While shouting pain. Rolling back and forth on the ground. Black hair scattered all over the head. The blood on the nose mixed with the soil on the cheeks and ground. In no time, he became like a madman. Hands on. Officer Li's face sank like water. Watching Jia Zhang, who was playing pranks, made her heart even more disgusted. Ah! Old Jia! Come back quickly. They bullied us orphans and widows. If you have spirits in heaven, come back and take them away. I know that Officer Li doesn't allow oil and salt to enter. Jia Zhang was completely unresponsive. I directly used my own assassin's mace soul summoning technique. Police officer, did you see it? Isn't this still feudal superstition? And it also promotes feudal superstition. Take a look at how scared everyone is. This is not a good social impact. Li Mingsheng is afraid that the situation may not be chaotic enough. At this moment, hold Li Xiao and walk forward. Speaking to Officer Li with a face full of iron. Then he pointed to the neighbor who had some taboos about retreating. Present all the evidence to Officer Li in front of him. Jia Zhang, stop talking immediately. Otherwise, I will arrest you on the grounds of publicly declaring feudal superstition. I'll go in and eat peanuts then. Officer Li heard Li Ming's words. Without hesitation, an ultimatum was issued to Jia Zhang. The previous second was still using the soul summoning technique. Jia Zhang, who was crying uncontrollably. Choose to shut up directly in the next second. Just still lying on the ground unwilling to get up. Fantasizing that Officer Li could let her off guard for the sake of her being sufficiently rogue. However, Officer Li remained completely unmoved. 3 police officers were dispatched directly to lift Jia Zhang up. Wait a minute. Just as another police officer wanted to take Qinhuai away. The widow suddenly let out a loud roar. Then he broke free from his constraints and came to Li Ming. Shine your car light towards Li Ming. Pull his arm and pull towards the car lights. Xiao Ming. We make countless mistakes. It's just to make the children's lives better. You are still young and handsome, so you don't have to worry about not getting a wife. It's still early to date in the future. As long as my sister.in-law settles down with the children, I will definitely buy a house. Look at my sister.in-law, she really can't leave now. Can you feel sorry for my sister.in-law and not let them take me away? That's all for now. Qinhuai looked pitifully at Chu Chu with tears in his eyes. Yuzhu was so heartbroken that he almost fainted. I wish the person being asked for was him. Feeling the heat on my arms. Li Ming sneered in his heart. How could he not know what Widow Qin was thinking? It's just about trying to gain sympathy from men by relying on one's own body. Especially when I look like I'm not human. A young man with strong blood and vigor. Unfortunately, I am not a thief and do not like young women. Others have no resistance against young women. It doesn't mean you don't have it. I don't know how many people this Qin widow has ridden with. And I have hatched twice. It's almost the 3rd nest. It's very loose. It is incomparable to those young female college students who are water-spirited. Get out of here and pull it. A thing that doesn't take a shower every day, are you clean? Do you know how to plead now? When I bullied my sister and angered my parents, why didn't I regret it? Li Ming pushed the Qinhuai River away like a hand. Feeling disgusted, he reached out and patted the place where Qinhuai had just touched without any concealment. Everyone present widened their eyes. Watching Li Ming's actions as if seeing a ghost. I have started to doubt whether he is no longer capable. After all, there are not many men in the entire courtyard who can resist Qinhuairu's temptation. Even the dog like Zhonghai has eaten grapes a few times. But now, Widow Qin is knocking on her door. Li Ming doesn't even take advantage of it, how could it not be doubted? Xiao Ming, please feel sorry for your sister.in-law. Now there are 2 starving children at home. My body really can't withstand the turmoil. My sister.in-law knows that you are a smart and sensible good child. Today, just help your sister.in-law once. When needed in the future. My sister.in-law will definitely not forget your kindness today. If Qinhuai doesn't give up. Come together again to plead for mercy. Even the hint has been put on the surface. However, the short-lived ghost Jia Dongshu and the soul summoning which Jia Zhangshi did not understand. It can also be said that they are now too busy to care about themselves. Get lost. However, the only response to Qinhuairu was Li Ming's rolling character. Qinhuai is as impatient as Qi. Li Ming glared fiercely at the heartless Li Ming. Turn around and come to Officer Li. Puff. Arrive in front of Officer Li. Qinhuai knelt down directly. She is a smart woman, knowing how to judge a person's dish. Especially when faced with a positive character like Officer Li who harbors a grudge against evil, one can only play the emotional card. Police comrades. I know there must be a misunderstanding in this matter. I am also willing to cooperate with the police to investigate thoroughly. But the child in my belly is about to be born. There are still 2 children left unattended at home. Now all my mother-in-law and husband have been taken away. If I were also caught. Do you want my 2 children to starve to death at home? And once I go to the clinic, I become emotionally anxious and even experience fetal pressure. In case one negligence leads to the child's passing, how do you expect me to survive? Speaking. Qinhuai immediately burst into tears. Officer Li furrowed his brow, looking at Qinhuai's bulging belly. I can't bear it anymore. Get up first, he said as he reached out and pulled up Qinhuai, feeling the soothing tone of Officer Li. Qinhuai immediately struck the iron while it was hot. If you don't agree, I won't get up. Ouch. Speaking. Pretend to cover your stomach. He tilted to the side with a painful expression on his face. Officer Li was greatly surprised. Promise, get up quickly and don't touch the fetal pressure. At the same time, Zhonghai took advantage of this gap. Give a lady a look as a gesture. Let her go back to the backyard to move reinforcements. The old lady understood and immediately turned around to leave. Chapter 8. Boss goes out. The deaf old lady threw a rake at her. You are listening at novelfull.audio. With the support and comfort of Officer Li, Qinhuai finally stood up from the ground. I won't take you away this time. But when it comes to investigation, I hope you can fully cooperate. After getting up, Officer Li looked at Qinhuai helplessly and warned her. Qinhuai's big watery eyes flickered like water. Be obedient to Officer Li's words. Police comrades, please rest assured. I will definitely take good care of the children at home. Actively cooperate with the police's work. Officer Li shook his head and didn't say anything more. Take them all away. Arrived in front of Zhonghai, Jia Zhongshi, and others. Officer Li waved his hand. Tell your subordinates to prepare to take these people away. This includes Jia Dongxiu, He Yuzhu, Yan Bugue, Lu Haizhong, and others. After all, they are all involved. Even if not convicted. But accepting an investigation is definitely inevitable. Brother, what will happen to them? Watching the struggling crowd, Li Xiaoxiao hid behind Li Ming. With her beautiful big eyes open, she looked up and asked sweetly. Li Ming had a wicked smile at the corner of his mouth. Pick up Xiaoxiao. Rubbing her little cheek affectionately. Be punished as they deserve. If nothing unexpected happens, he will definitely go to jail. But what Li Xiaoxiao said next? But Li Ming's eyes widened in shock. Go to jail. Isn't this too cheap for them? If it's a smile. Smiling will definitely make them lose everything they care about. Then live a healthy life in this world. What do you think, brother? Looking at the sweet dimples of the little girl. And that slightly childish voice. Li Mingfei was not at all happy. More importantly, there is endless ice and cold. My younger sister. Not a good person. Can survive in this courtyard. They are not easy bullies. But Li Ming is very happy. Because my sister is too kind. Instead, it will drag down one's own revenge against these beasts. Let's go. Just as the siblings were talking. Officer Li has packed up the animals and taken them home. Wait a minute. A voice suddenly suppressed everyone present. Li Ming's pupils contracted. The unease that had always existed in my heart finally came to an end. Old Death. I said who's missing. I actually forgot about your sea god needle. Li Ming thought to himself like this. He continued to maintain a faint smile on his face. He wants to take a look. This is known as the deaf old lady of the contemporary Empress Dowager Cixi. What means are there? Officer Li frowned. Turning around to look at the stumbling deaf old lady, she felt a bit puzzled. Old man, are you here? The deaf old lady stood in front of Officer Li, hunched over and pretended to cough. Police officer, I'm old and can't walk anymore, he asked in a low voice. I heard you're taking the silly pillar away. Without him to serve. How can I still live, old lady? Cough. Cough cough. Cough, cough, cough. After speaking, he began to cough wildly. The already slightly hunched body is even more frail. As if it could be cremated in place in the next second. This. Officer Li was confused. At the same time, my heart was filled with anger. I am clearly here to call the police. As a result, anyone can persuade themselves. Make him very angry. But the deaf old lady is still of a certain age. He is not too tough either. I can only swallow my anger and persuade with kind words. Old thing, do you have nowhere to catch your breath? This is the crime scene. You obstruct the work of public officials. Don't you know it's possible to go in and eat peanuts? Also. You said you can't live without the silly pillar. Can't the police take silly Zhu away even if he kills someone? Is it as long as you're alive? Are you the stupid pillar's gold medal for avoiding death? Are you preparing for the restoration of feudal monarchy? Or do you have any opinions about the current era? Even, the opposite. The deaf old lady is being scolded and forced. I didn't even find the right direction myself. Li Ming has already dealt her several deadly black pots. Officer Li secretly gave Li Ming a thumbs up. I am particularly grateful to him in my heart. Yes, old lady. We're just going to find silly Zhu to understand the situation. If it's okay, let him come back tonight. Listen to what the other person said. The deaf old lady finally felt relieved. But she didn't go back. But rather stumbled towards Zhonghai. As he passed by, he whispered to him, find a chance, pretend to be sick and get away. Zhonghai understands in seconds. When the deaf old lady just brushed past him. Lie down on the ground and roll with your stomach covered. Ouch ouch, I'm getting old, my body is not doing well, I'm going to die. Officer Li's face turned black immediately. Grab it. No one can escape today. Bring me a lot of them all back. The deaf old lady stopped working. No way. You must leave me one today. Otherwise, will my old lady starve to death? Looking at the deaf old lady's tough attitude. Officer Li's lungs were almost bursting with anger. At the end of the day, am I a police officer or are you a police officer? Madam, do you want to go against them? Do you know? Your current behavior is to eat peanuts. I have already taken good care of you, don't make it difficult for me. Oh my. The deaf old lady threw away her cane and covered her head before sitting down. Old lady. Zhonghai finally found an opportunity. Directly push away the police officer who is holding on to you. Running towards the deaf old lady. I'll tell you all. If my old lady has any major issues today, I can't spare you. At this moment, Zhonghai has become tough. Supporting the deaf old lady exudes an extra aura. Speaking of the deaf old lady. The whole person was like a stroke, constantly wailing on the ground. The elderly. It affects the work of public officials, but they have to bear responsibility. Are you sure you want to act rascal here? Officer Li couldn't resist questioning. After Li Ming spoke up to explain. He doesn't have a good impression of Zhonghai. Now this deaf old lady is so troublesome and troublesome. It made him feel even more unhappy. But this is a young man. He will enforce whatever he says. Police comrades. Ultimately, this is our family business. Even if Li Ming gets into a stalemate with his grandfather. It's also a family matter. Now he's also beaten and angry. Even alerted your police officers, isn't that enough? No big deal, we'll compensate him a little money. Anyway, he doesn't have any losses. Do we really have to get tangled up here because of these things? The deaf old lady's seemingly earnest persuasion. That's right. Li Ming, listen more to the old lady's words. Is your grandfather really going too far with this matter today? As a junior. Have we ever said anything about you repeatedly attacking your elders? Even now. The old lady thinks this is a small misunderstanding. I was thinking of giving you some compensation. Do you really want to make your family restless before you're willing to give up? The birds and beasts remained silent. Some people even looked at Li Ming with strange eyes. I am thinking to myself in my heart. Is Li Ming taking this matter too seriously? Even the selfless officer Li. At this moment, there is also some uncertainty. His gaze swept towards Li Ming for a moment. After a while, he scanned towards Zhonghai, who was full of anger, and the deaf old lady who was wronged. I was completely confused by the situation in this courtyard. The deaf old lady sitting on the ground reached out to cover her face. A hint of pride flashed across the blocked face. Feeling proud in his heart, he thought to himself, little brat, fight against the old lady. You're still young. Chapter 9. Face-slapping deaf old lady. Open the system farm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Pop pop pop. Just as the scene fell silent, Li Ming suddenly reached out and applauded. He stepped forward. Walk between Officer Li and the deaf old lady. Pretty old thing. Indeed, he is an old and refined person. Your fallacy is very brilliant. I have to admit it. I did underestimate you before. Speaking of which. Li Ming's eyes suddenly narrowed. A bone-chilling sensation emanated from all over the body. You've said so much. Isn't it to justify myself and Zhonghai and the others? If everything can be handled as family matters. Is the world already peaceful? If everything can be handled as family matters. What should the police do? When I was deceived into going to the wilderness. Have you ever written me a letter? Have you ever sent me a penny? You said we are a family. My parents died of depression. Have you ever asked a question? Zhonghai conspired to seize my house. Have you ever spoken out to stop it? My sister suffered from inhumane abuse. Have you ever spoken out with righteousness? I returned home to protect my parents' inheritance and was severely injured by the two of them, silly Zhu. Have you ever advised them? One sentence at a time. Piercing the deaf old lady's heart. The animals present were ashamed and lowered their heads. Officer Li's gaze also began to become solemn. He is a police officer. It is the people's reliance. During the law enforcement process. We cannot favor anyone due to external factors. It's just a forced argument. Zhonghai stopped working. Watching the situation gradually pulled back by the deaf old lady. I didn't expect Li Ming's language to be so sharp. A clever tongue is like a spring. 3 or 2 sentences once again gained the upper hand. Li Ming, how dare you talk to the old lady like this? Do you still have this ancestor in your eyes? Are you still not from our courtyard? Are you going to rebel? Looking at the almost crazy Zhonghai, Li Ming couldn't help but laugh out loud. Zhonghai. Should I say you're stupid or stupid? Do you want to hear what you're talking about? At this point, Li Ming suddenly raised his voice. You, Zhonghai. One ancestor after another. Is it nostalgic for the former Empress Dowager Cixi? Are you still planning to let the deaf old lady listen to politics from behind the curtain? Are you here commanding the courtiers? I have been wronged. If you speak out about unfair treatment, it becomes a rebellion. Do you really think this courtyard house is a palace? You're just an old man. No one in the courtyard can resist you. Once you resist, you will let the foolish pillar suppress you with force, and whoever doesn't listen will be attacked. When encountering the police, move out this old Buddha statue. Are you planning to build a golden one hall in 2 years? Choose another auspicious day in the ecliptic to ascend to the throne and proclaim oneself emperor. Officer Li's eyes burst with 2 cold rays. Looking towards the panicked Zhonghai, he was unprecedentedly serious. Nonsense. You're talking nonsense. The old lady is a martyr's family. My son and grandson died in battle and sacrificed their lives for the country. I once made shoes for the Red Army. Where did you have the courage to slander the old lady like this? It has to be said. This is the only time Zhonghai was smart. Say this sentence. Even Officer Li, who had opinions about them, was stunned. For martyrs. And they are also martyrs who have made contributions. He has always maintained a high level of respect. Old lady, don't be sad. Get up first, it's cool on the ground. Officer Li walked forward. Reached out and pulled up the deaf old lady. She patted the dust off her body with concern. There has been a 180-degree change in attitude. Oh. You said she is a family member of the martyrs. Does she have any identification documents for the martyrs' family? Don't tell me you don't know. The country attaches great importance to this kind of thing. I will never owe any family member who sacrificed their lives for the country. Zhonghai hesitated for a moment, stuttering and unable to speak. This. That. The deaf old lady's face changed. Instantly suppress all emotions. Zhonghai, old thing, I'll tell you. It is a serious mistake to impersonate the family members of martyrs. This is no longer just about going in and eating peanuts. You'd better think it through before speaking. Li Ming's words were like the last straw that crushed a camel. At this moment, it's not just Zhonghai and the deaf old lady who are panicking. Even those beasts gradually regained their senses. Yeah. They listen to the deaf old lady Zhonghai talking nonsense every day. It seems that the old lady never produced any documents from beginning to end. Difficulty cannot be achieved. She really didn't. Officer Li's spirit surged. Even if we respect the martyrs' families, we understand that things are not right. His gaze turned slightly. Looking towards the deaf old lady in Zhonghai. The more I look, the more I feel that these 2 people are acting. Hey. No wonder Xiaoming asked so. It's my old lady who's being too sentimental. You also know. Old lady, I am a lonely family. The child's husband and grandson have all left. The documents posted above and so on. I have hidden them all. I've seen too much, sad. It's just that, you're all grown up now. Now the police comrades are also here. You can handle it as you please. Old lady, I'm tired. I don't want to worry about these annoying things anymore. Speaking. The deaf old lady turned around. Break free from Officer Li's hand and walk towards your own house. Zhonghai still wants to stop the deaf old lady. As a result, Officer Li on the side took the lead and grabbed him with one hand. What's going on? Do you still want to run now? At this moment, Officer Li only feels like he has been played with. My heart is filled with frustration. Is the deaf old lady a martyr's family? He dare not gamble on this. After all, if it turns out to be clumsy, it will be known by the higher authorities when the time comes. Maybe I can't even keep my job. But Zhonghai and others truly committed the crime. Nothing can be said today to make them run away. Take it away, take it all away. Officer Li waved his hand decisively and firmly. Before leaving, he approached Li Ming, patted his shoulder and whispered, "Little brother, don't worry. I will definitely give you an explanation." Li Ming didn't know for sure, he didn't nod or shake his head. Zhonghai and others were taken away. All the birds and beasts are asking for trouble. One by one, the girls slipped away without a trace. "Brother, Xiao Xiao is hungry." Seeing everyone finish walking, Li Xiao Xiao held Li Ming's hand and shouted in a milky voice. "Are you hungry? Let's go home, brother will get you something to eat. Take my sister's hand." The siblings walked towards their own house. Return to the house. Li Ming handed the only moldy nest to Li Xiao Xiao. Then a person hid in the room and checked the system interface. What catches the eye is a projection template. Li Ming is checking his personal attributes. Subsequently, attention was focused on the complementary system storage space. Ding, congratulations to the host for opening the system space. Note: the system space has 10 times the flow rate, and the host can open the system farm by completing branch tasks. Whether it is plants or animals, they can enjoy the 10 times flow rate bonus. Chapter 10. Side Quests. You are listening at novelfull.audio. System, what is a side task? Can the things cultivated in the system farm be eaten? The system replied coldly. May I ask if the host has received side quests? Li Mingduan sat on the bed, his eyelids tightly closed, his consciousness immersed in the system. He thought for a while. I think the side quests shouldn't do him any harm. After all, my own system. It doesn't seem like those seductive sluts who want to wipe out their hosts with just one word of disagreement. Claim. With a milky white light flashing by. There is an extra small red dot on Li Ming's system interface. Control the consciousness to click in. At the next moment, the mechanical sound of the system will ring again. Side quests. Make the beasts feel regretful, reward 1 to 10,000 system coins each time, which can be exchanged for corresponding items in the system mall. Li Ming was confused. Originally listening well, a system mall suddenly popped up. System, I didn't see a shopping mall, did I? Ding, the system mall requires 10,000 system coins to open. Li Ming wants to vomit blood. What kind of pit dad system is this? He originally thought that his system was at least knowledgeable and rational. I didn't expect to be as unscrupulous as other systems. System, do you have any benefits? For example, what kind of food stamps, meat stamps, grains, and so on. You can't have horses running and horses not eating grass again. The system remained silent for a long time before it finally came out. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining the system growth gift package. Growth gift pack. 20 grain tickets, 20 meat tickets, 20 black 10 tickets. Looking at the sudden addition of something in the system package, Li Ming's eyes lit up with green light. Good thing, good thing. I'm getting rich now. Li Ming is not poor now. Although the conditions are difficult, we will go to the wilderness to open up the land. But the welfare benefits are still quite good. And there's no place to spend money, most of it has been saved. The reason for asking the system for something. I mainly want to catch more points. After all, no one thinks they have too much money. Xiao Xiao, you can play at home for a while, brother, go out and buy something. Get out of the system interface. Li Ming gave an explanation to Li Xiao Xiao, who was playing in the room, and then pushed the door open and walked out. Li Ming's family is very poor. My parents passed away early, and Li Xiao Xiao's life alone is very difficult. In addition, the difficulties faced by Zhonghai, Jia Zhangshi, and others. All the valuable things in the house have been moved away. If you want to live better now. I definitely need to buy something. Come out of the courtyard. Li Ming didn't pay attention to the strange looks of the beasts in the courtyard at him. Go straight to the bus stop on the road outside the door. Buses from the 1960s. It's still the kind of green. Similar to the appearance of a bus. There is a luggage-like design at the top of the bus. A large black package covering the entire roof. Give way, give way. Hey, don't squeeze. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. There are various smells on the bus. The people getting on the car are also very diverse. Li Ming felt a bit uncomfortable being squeezed. But there's no other way. It seems that we need to stabilize as soon as possible. When the time comes, it will be more convenient to get a 2 or 8 bar car for travel. Thinking in my heart. Unconsciously, I have arrived at the Chaoyang vegetable market. Get off the car. He walked towards the direction he remembered. Unfortunately. At this point, many vendors have already returned home. There isn't much left. They are all miscellaneous items that cannot be sold. Got it. I walked for a while. Li Ming saw another place with lamb meat spreading out the door. So he walked in that direction. Comrade, buy meat. The vendor owner is a fat and robust man. His face was covered in whiskers, looking big and thick. The meat on the lamb shop is still fresh. The main reason why it doesn't sell well is because of its price. This period. People's enthusiasm for lamb is not yet high. Every household still eats a lot of pork. Therefore, it is normal for the lamb shops in the market to close late. Comrade, how much does this lamb cost per kilogram? Although Li Ming doesn't really want to buy lamb. But there are really no other meat shops open in other places, so we can only ask loudly. 7 cents per kilogram. Comrade, how many pounds do you want? The butcher chuckled and asked. Give me 4 pounds. Could you please wrap it up for me? I'll have to go somewhere else later, so it's more convenient to hold it. The other party clearly did not expect Li Ming to want so much. After all, lamb is still not cheap. Ordinary families may only eat so much during the Chinese New Year. I didn't expect Li Ming, an unattractive young man, to have so many at once. Weigh it, you have a lot of money. Seeing the boss surprised, Li Ming laughed and explained. Damn it. Just now, I wanted to persuade Li Ming a few more words. But listen to him say that. The butcher also dispelled this idea. After all, everyone's way of life is different. They want to eat lamb, but they can't control it themselves. As for whether it can be finished or not, it's all up to Li Ming. Dong dong dong. A sound of chopping meat echoed through the street. In no time, the boss wrapped the meat. When handing it to Li Ming, he was particularly happy and said, Here, the 4 pounds of lamb you asked for is 2 yuan and 8 yuan in total. Li Ming didn't even think about it and directly reached into his pocket. I went to the meat ticket from the system space. Then withdraw the money and hand it to the boss. After saying hello, he turned around and left. Looking at the back of Li Ming leaving. The butcher's face was full of emotion as he said, Money is capricious. After leaving the meat shop, Li Ming arrived at the entrance of a large shop. Except for meat. He also needs to buy some vegetables, rice, noodles, oil, and so on. I was not at home before, so I made do with it with a smile. Now I'm back by myself. I definitely can't let the little girl live such a difficult life anymore. Although Li Xiaoxiao was adopted, her character is absolutely indescribable. Comrade, I'll buy some rice flour oil. After entering, Li Ming said to the salesperson at the door. Comrade, the rice, noodles, grains, and oil are here. You can choose what you need yourself. After selecting, you can come here to settle the bill. The salesperson is a young man. Compared to Li Ming's politeness, it appears more enthusiastic. Okay. Li Ming nodded and turned to the rice flour oil area to select some commonly used ones. Just about to leave. But at the corner, I was attracted by a row of exquisite colored candies. What is this? This is big white rabbit milk candy. It just arrived today, you really came at the right time. The salesperson saw that Li Ming was interested and quickly explained. That's really it. Li Ming walked forward. Reached out and took out one from the colorful box to take a look. I found that it was exactly the same as what I remembered. Many childhood memories couldn't help but emerge. Let's have a pack. Since I have encountered it, I will definitely try it. The great white rabbit milk candy from the 1960s is made of very pure ingredients. It's a rare opportunity to taste it, Li Ming doesn't want to miss it. Big white rabbit milk candy costs 2 yuan per pack. 5 pounds of flour, 5 pounds of rice, 1 pound of corn, mina, for a total of 10.23 yuan. Li Ming nodded and reached into his pocket to take out the money and ticket. And on the other side, Qinhuai has arrived at the house of the deaf old lady. Madam, please think of a solution. My mother-in-law and an old man were both caught by them. If we don't rescue them, how should we live these days? As Qinhuai walked in, he burst into tears at the deaf old lady, not even caring about the old lady beside him.